Joining me on News Central is Sean Mendis, an aviation consultant based in Lilongwe, Malawi. Thanks for joining us, Sean.
Thanks for having me.
All right, this ruling from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission seems long overdue. Can you help us understand why it took this long?
Well, the reality is that this is just the latest in a string of fines and penalties that Boeing has been facing from various authorities over the issue with 737 MAX. The SEC fine is not actually about the accidents itself, but rather about Boeing's actions, which were lying and concealing details about the issue from their own shareholders. In fact, that's the big reason why Boeing's former CEO, Dennis Muilenburg, is also personally being fined $1 million in addition to the penalty that the company is paying, because he was the one who went out on TV to the media and said everything is okay, while he knew that that there were issues that Boeing was addressing with the flight control systems. In addition to this, Boeing has faced criminal proceedings from the U.S. Department of Justice. They reached a settlement there last year for $2.5 billion. That was a criminal penalty of $245 million. Compensation to the airline customers of $1.7 billion and $500 million in a fund for paying out crash victims. In addition to that, they also paid $17 million as a fine to the FAA to deal with misrepresentations they made to the FAA in the certification. So that, there's a lot of issues, and the estimate is that with the compensation delays and lost orders, the total impact on Boeing's around $150 million overall.
All right, what happens with this $200 million? Normally, does this go to victims or does this go to the SEC alone?
This is just purely for the SEC. The victims' relatives are actually allowed to pursue damages individually from Boeing based on a settlement that Boeing had with them last year. And in fact, some of those cases are going to go to trial in 2023. The key thing to note is that under the criminal settlement and the agreement with the families with the victims, Boeing has admitted that they have produced an airplane which had what they call an unsafe condition. And all claims for damages now will be settled under U.S. law as part of this agreement, which is good for the families of the victims, since U.S. law is more generous with compensation payment. But the trade-off for that is that Boeing will not be subject to what they call punitive damages. So no penalties above what can be quantified as damages for actual loss. All but two families of the victims of both the Indonesia and the Ethiopia crash have agreed to this settlement. Those two families include the family of former U.S. presidential candidate Ralph Nader. His grandniece was killed in the Ethiopian Airlines crash, and that family is seeking punitive damages in addition to the compensatory damages that Boeing has agreed to pay. So,
all right. I also want you to quickly, if you can, in maybe 30 seconds, let us know what happens to the 737 MAX. Some airlines had already gotten new planes. Would they be flown or would they be grounded for now?
Oh, this will not have any safety impact on the MAX or on how it flies. The MAX has been scrutinized, modified, and cleared by regulators all over the world. It's probably one of the safest planes in the skies today. I've flown on them personally multiple times in Africa. Ethiopian Airlines is taking delivery of 2 to 3 of new aircraft every month, and they fly daily to my home airport here in Malawi. So I've got no hesitation on flying on them. This is a safe aircraft. And especially in today's world with fuel prices so high, the MAX is about 8% more fuel efficient than previous generation aircraft. So airlines are looking to add more MAXs rather than to ground them again.
All right, pretty fantastic there. Of course, we will continue to follow up and see where this leads. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll speak with you again.
Thanks.